The silence in the hotel lobby was so heavy, you could hear the fear itself swirling among the expensive suits when the CEO, hands on his head and voice already out of control, almost shouted that nobody there spoke Chinese, as if that phrase could save him from the imminent disaster. Meanwhile, the Chinese millionaire stood motionless, elegant in his deep royal blue suit, his gaze firm, his expression closed, observing everything as if measuring not just numbers, but character, time, and dignity. Each unanswered second felt like a public condemnation. Executives exchanged glances, cell phones switched off. Nobody dared move because at that moment it wasn't just a contract at stake, it was reputation, power, and collective humiliation. Then from the corner of the corridor, almost invisible to everyone, a woman in a red cleaning uniform stopped pushing her cart, straightened her posture, and raised her face with a calmness that didn't match the surrounding chaos. And when her voice pierced the room, simply saying, "I speak," it wasn't just a translation that began. It was the exact moment when the hierarchies, their roles reversed. The CEO paled, bewildered by the unexpected authority. The millionaire slightly raised his gaze for the first time with genuine interest, and everyone there realized too late that they had ignored the very only person capable of changing the course of that meeting, because in that second it became clear that she wasn't just a cleaning lady. She was the bridge between failure and salvation, between contempt and respect, and everything that would follow began right there, in that "I speak," spoken with firmness, courage, and dignity, which no one in that hotel would ever forget. Before we delve into this amazing story, tell me which city and state you're watching from. Leave a comment and I'll reply with gratitude. And while you're at it, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and like this video. We want to share more stories like this. After that moment, when her voice pierced the lobby and rearranged the heavy atmosphere, the entire hotel seemed to suspend, as if time had been forced to slow down to reflect on what was about to happen. No one there was prepared for the fact that this woman, until then ignored by everyone, would become the central figure in a negotiation that had been treated as strategic for months. While the CEO tried to regain his composure, adjusting his jacket with still, trembling hands, the Chinese millionaire slightly inclined his head, not in submission, but in genuine attention. Something rare for someone accustomed to being listened to without having to ask. It was in this silent space that she began to translate with precision, calm, and respect. Not only technical business terms, but cultural nuances that none of those executives even knew existed. She explained terms that went far beyond contracts, speaking of trust, time, honor, and intention, concepts that didn't appear in the slides hastily prepared by the marketing team. With each translated phrase, the CEO's face changed. She closed herself off more, not out of disagreement, but because she realized that all the preparation she considered sufficient was shallow compared to the depth that conversation demanded. Meanwhile, she maintained a firm posture, without raising her voice, without asking permission to exist, simply occupying the space that had always been there, but which no one had ever granted her. Gradually, the other executives began to step back, not physically but emotionally, because they understood that they no longer had any control over the course of that meeting, which now followed its own flow, guided by someone who knew the language, the culture, and above all, the value of the right silence at the right time. And when the millionaire asked a direct question about a mistake the company had made months before, something the CEO had tried to downplay in internal reports, she translated exactly as it was said, without softening, without protecting, without distorting. This had an immediate impact, because for the first time, the truth circulated freely in that luxurious space, and the CEO felt the weight of realizing that he was no longer facing subordinates, but a mirror, and that this mirror spoke through someone he had never looked in the eyes before. The millionaire listened with almost surgical attention, pausing for a long time, before responding, like someone evaluating not just answers, but character. When he finally spoke again, he praised the clarity of her communication, something that visibly made the CEO uncomfortable, because the praise wasn't directed at him or his team, but at her. At that moment, it became clear that this woman carried a history that didn't fit the place she was in. She possessed a confidence that didn't come from her position, but from her knowledge, a serenity that only exists in those who have faced silences greater than that. As the conversation progressed, small details began to emerge, such as references to international experiences, rare technical terms, and a deep understanding of global business contexts. This led the millionaire for the first time to address her directly, asking how long she had worked there. The simple answer, without justifications or victimhood, caused an almost physical shift in the atmosphere, because it contrasted with everything that was being demonstrated. At that instant, the CEO realized that it wasn't luck or chance, but negligence. The accumulated tension of years focused on positions and ignored people, of structures built to avoid recognizing talent that didn't come packaged in the expected way. And while he tried to intervene, resuming the conversation, the millionaire calmly raised his hand, effortlessly interrupting him, making it clear that the conversation would continue in that way, at that pace, with that mediation. And it was there that the invisible hierarchy broke down completely, because everyone understood that regardless of positions or salaries, the authority at that moment belonged to whoever held the bridge between two worlds. And she continued, phrase after phrase, conducting the meeting with precision and dignity, never showing resentment, never demanding recognition, simply doing what she always knew how to do, while the CEO was forced to confront an uncomfortable truth: that he had spent all those years surrounded by people similar to him, while systematically ignoring those who could have taken the company much further. And when the first stage of the negotiation came to an end, with a provisional agreement established thanks to the clarity of communication, the lobby no longer seemed the same, because something had been revealed there, something that could not be undone or ignored afterward. And while the executives dispersed in silence, the millionaire lingered a few seconds longer, observing her with a gaze that mixed respect and curiosity, like someone who knows how to recognize when they find someone who doesn't fit into obvious labels. The CEO, standing a few meters behind, had the distinct feeling that this meeting hadn't been just about business, but about everything he had chosen not to see throughout his own career, understanding, albeit belatedly, that this woman had not only changed the course of a contract, but exposed the fragility of an entire system that confuses silence with irrelevance and power with appearance. And as she walked away to resume her tasks, without looking back, it became increasingly clear that this story was only beginning, and that the consequences of this encounter would be far greater than anyone there could have imagined at that initial moment. When the meeting officially ended and the hotel corridors once again filled with hurried footsteps, whispered conversations, and cell phones ringing again, nothing there seemed truly normal, because everyone carried the uneasy feeling of having witnessed something that didn't fit into reports or formal minutes, something that would echo for a long time, especially for the CEO, who paced back and forth in a private room, trying to reorganize his thoughts, realizing that, for the first time in years, he didn't have absolute control of the narrative. Meanwhile, in another quieter and more discreet environment, the Chinese millionaire remained seated, calmly reflecting, not on clauses or values, but on people, on how someone invisible to the system had been precisely the one who offered the most solid bridge in that negotiation. It was this thought that led him to ask, simply and directly, that she be called again, not as a showy gesture, but as a natural continuation of what had already begun. And when she entered the room, she maintained the same serene posture as before, without expectation of immediate recognition or reward. She remained attentive, as always, and the conversation that followed was unlike anything the CEO had ever witnessed. It wasn't just about future contracts, but about personal stories, interrupted careers, choices made out of necessity rather than vocation. While she answered honestly, without dramatizing the past or romanticizing difficulties, the millionaire listened with genuine interest, asking questions that went beyond her resume and touched upon her values, worldview, and understanding of responsibility. At that moment, the CEO realized he had lost something far greater than prestige that morning. He had lost the chance to have seen it sooner, to have created an environment where talent didn't have to hide behind undervalued roles. When the conversation turned to the future of the partnership, it became clear that the provisional agreement would only become permanent if certain principles were respected, not just financial ones, but human ones, requiring structural changes, a review of internal processes, and above all, a new way of looking at the people who silently sustained the operation every day. This condition was stated calmly, but firmly enough to leave no room for doubt. During the negotiation, the CEO, feeling the weight of that demand, understood that it wasn't an external imposition, but a rare opportunity for correction. He accepted, not without difficulty, but with the awareness that this was the price of continuity. While the final terms were being adjusted, the millionaire made it clear that he wished to maintain direct contact with her, not as an occasional intermediary, but as an essential part of future communication. This surprised her, not out of ambition, but out of responsibility, because she knew exactly what it meant. She still responded with the same clarity she had demonstrated from the beginning, establishing limits, proposing solutions, and showing that she understood the weight of that trust. When everything was finally concluded, there were no applause or grand announcements, only a respectful silence that spoke louder than any public celebration. Gradually, people left the room until only she and the CEO remained, in a brief but meaningful encounter. Because there was no longer a comfortable hierarchy, only two people separated by past choices. The apology he offered was neither rehearsed nor strategic. It was simple, direct, and perhaps belated, but sincere enough to mark a turning point, and she listened without interrupting, without absolving or condemning, simply recognizing that that recognition was, in itself, a rare step. And when she said goodbye to continue her day, she did so not as someone who had won a battle, but as someone who had been true to herself. And in the days that followed, the changes began to become visible, not immediately or perfectly, but real, with new dialogues, internal adjustments, and an environment that slowly learned to listen to those who had always been present. And the story, that began with panic and silence, ended up becoming a reference, being told not as an isolated case of luck, but as a powerful reminder that talent doesn't shout, doesn't impose itself, doesn't occupy positions by chance, but exists, resists, and reveals itself at the right moment. And for everyone who heard that story afterward, the lesson became clear and impossible to ignore. Never underestimate someone who seems invisible, because sometimes it is precisely that person who holds the key capable of changing destinies, reputations, and entire futures. And so, regardless of exaggerated spotlights or artificial endings, that story concluded by leaving something much bigger than a signed contract, leaving the certainty that dignity, knowledge, and quiet courage always find a way to speak, even when no one expects it.